Hello everyone, my name is Songi Park. I'm a research faculty member at the University of Hawaii Cancer Center. Thank you very much for the opportunity to introduce our cancer center and the multi-ethnic cohort study. This is an overview of today's talk. First, I will start with an introduction to the University of Hawaii Cancer Center. Next, I will describe the multi-ethnic cohort study, or MET, including recruitment process, baseline questionnaire, food frequency questionnaire, FFQ, and cohort follow-up. Then I will highlight several studies on diet and cancer association. I will cover dietary exposures ranging from specific nutrients measured using both FFQ and biomarkers to food and dietary patterns. Finally, I will conclude with information on MET data sharing. The University of Hawaii Cancer Center is one of 73 research organizations in the U.S. designated by the National Cancer Institute, NCI, which is the principal federal agency for cancer research. We are the only NCI-designated cancer center in the Pacific region. Founded in 1971, our cancer center serves a very large and diverse population. As you can see from the map, our service area includes the Hawaii Islands as well as the U.S.-affiliated Pacific Islands such as Guam and American Samoa. The Cancer Center is a research unit within the University of Hawaii at Manoa, located in Honolulu. Our Cancer Center has two main research programs, cancer biology and population sciences in the Pacific. We are supported by 5 shared resources as well as Cancer Research Training Unit and Community Outreach and Engagement Unit. Compared to many cancer centers on the U.S. mainland, we are relatively small. About 300 research faculty, staff, and students work in this building on the medical campus overlooking the Pacific Ocean. This slide shows our mission and vision statement. Our mission is to reduce the burden of cancer through research, education, patient care, and community outreach, focusing on the unique and diverse characteristics of Hawaii and the Pacific. Our vision is to be a global leader in cancer screening, prevention, treatment, and education to reduce the cancer burden in our communities, including underrepresented ethnic groups. This slide highlights some of our accomplishments over the past 10 years. We enrolled more than 17,000 patients in cancer prevention and treatment studies, primarily Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. In addition, more than 35,000 participants from diverse ethnic backgrounds enrolled in observational studies. We also increased mammogram participation rates among Native Hawaiian and Micronesian women from under 10% to 33%. Over the same period, about 180,000 community members received education on cancer-related topics, and we brought more than $141 million in federal research funding into the Hawaii economy. The University of Hawaii Cancer Center has also made a substantial impact on public policy. The Hawaii Tumor Registry, which is operated by our center, has provided data on cancer rates for the Hawaii population for over 60 years. These data are essential for monitoring cancer trends and informing cancer-related policies in Hawaii. In addition, our research on e-cigarette and vaping contributed to Hawaii becoming the first state in 2016 to raise the legal age for e-cigarette use from 18 to 21. Our research also informed the Hawaii State Department of Health's decision to mandate HPV vaccination for all students entering 7th grade. Another major impact of our cancer center is in the area of nutrition policy. Our dietary research helped form the scientific foundation for the 2020 dietary recommendations issued by USDA. Finally, our cancer center is the headquarters of the multi-ethnic cohort study, which I will be focusing on for the rest of today's talk. Since 1993, the MAC has provided detailed information on cancer disparities and causes, serving as a base for implementing cancer prevention programs unique to Hawaii. I'm going to share a clip of the Cancer Center members making Christmas wishes that was recently uploaded to the center's Facebook page. I just want to show you the atmosphere of our center. You can see people from various ethnic backgrounds.
Our Christmas wish is to cure cancer.
My wishes are for some great holiday waves and some good weather for some excellent beach time.
I'm hoping that the Cancer Center will serve the community more with a clinical impact. That means that Paola Early Phase Clinical Center is going to open in March, and that means that we're going to bring innovative treatment next year, and I'd really like to bring success to the community. So that's my wish.
So my Christmas wish would for us to get some transformative grants in here. And the one I'm thinking of is the COBRA that would give us a real foundation in artificial intelligence cancer research.
My Christmas wish this year is that everybody stays healthy and happy and everyone keeps their jobs.
My Christmas wish would be the common peace on earth. And really look forward to having that become a reality.
We found a group of people who carry a genetic variant that makes them much more resistant to cancer. I hope that I can figure it out why. Because if I can figure it out why, we are going to make everybody the same way by targeting the mechanism and developing a complete new therapy for cancer.
Now I'm going to talk about the multi-ethnic cohort study. The cohort was designed to examine lifestyle factors, especially diet and nutrition, as well as genetic factors in relation to cancer risk. The study has been supported by the National Cancer Institute since its establishment. It is a population-based cohort in Hawaii and California, meaning that it is a representative sample of Hawaii and California population, but not a convenient sample. The California site is led by University of Southern California. The MAC is a prospective observational study, not a clinical trial, so it allows us to study the associations between exposure and outcome, but not the causal relationship. The study recruited participants from 5 main racial and ethnic groups: Native Hawaiian, Japanese American, white groups, mostly in Hawaii, African American, and Latino groups in California. The inclusion criteria were Hawaii and California residents and 45 to 75 years old at baseline between 1993 and 96. The main sampling source for participant recruitment was driver's license file in the 2 states, because the driver's license data included name, address, age, and sex, representing all socio-economic strata. However, these files did not contain ethnicity information. Therefore, we developed ethnic-specific surname lists for various ethnic groups, including Koreans, in order to exclude or include particular ethnic groups. We also created a Japanese first name list in order to identify Japanese women who had changed their last name after marriage to non-Japanese men. Using this name list, we determined potential participants. Potential participants received by mail a 26-page self-administered questionnaire. This baseline questionnaire included sections on personal background, medication history, work history, physical activity, reproductive history for women, and family history of cancer. The largest section was a food frequency questionnaire with more than 180 food items. Vitamin and mineral supplement questions were also included. Both English and Spanish versions of the questionnaire were mailed to Latino individuals. The FFQ was developed in a pilot study using 3-day measured food records completed by 60 subjects in each racial ethnic group. The FFQ included the minimum set of food that contributed at least 85% of the specific nutrient intakes, including fat, dietary fiber, vitamin A, carotenoid, and vitamin C. This is a sample page of the FFQ, including 3 pictures at the top to help with usual serving size. Participants were asked to choose consumption frequency during last year and usual serving size for each food item. To calculate daily intake of energy and nutrients from the responses to the FFQ, food composition database were developed and maintained by our Nutrition Support Shared Resource. The main database contains up to 174 nutrients and component values for more than 2,300 food. This is a part of the food composition table showing energy and nutrient values per 100 grams of each food. Based on this master table, the customized food composition table was created for multi-ethnic cohort FFQ. The FFQ was validated in a calibration study with a random sample of 130 to 260 subjects from each sex and ethnic subgroup. A total of 1,600 participants completed unannounced 3 24-hour dietary recalls by telephone interview over 2 months period as a reference dietary assessment. Then they repeated the FFQ. The average correlation between the FFQ and 24-hour recalls was between 0.57 and 0.74 for nutrient densities, indicating satisfactory validation of the FFQ. Response rates to the baseline questionnaire varied across racial and ethnic groups. About 19 to 21% of Latinos and 46 to 51% of Japanese completed and returned the questionnaire. After excluding questionnaires missing essential information, The final number of cohort members was over 215,000. The largest group was Japanese at 26%, followed by white 23% and Latinos 22%. African Americans made up 16% and Native Hawaiians made up less than 7%. Another 6% were not part of the 5 targeted groups. About 10% of the participants reported more than one ethnicity. To include as many respondents as possible in the cohort, these persons of mixed ancestry were assigned to one of the 5 categories according to this priority ranking: African American, Native Hawaiian, Latino, Japanese American, whites, and other. For example, if someone marked Filipino, Hawaiian, and white, they were assigned as Native Hawaiian. This table shows some baseline characteristics of participants by sex and ethnicity. Among men, current smoking was highest in African Americans, 29%, and lowest in Japanese, 13%. Among women, current smoking rate was 21% in African Americans and Native Hawaiians, 11% among Japanese. Obesity rate, defined as a body mass index of 30 or higher, also varied widely across ethnic groups, from 7% in Japanese men and women to 38% in African American women. To identify incident cancer cases during follow-up period, the entire cohort is linked to the statewide population-based cancer registries in Hawaii and California. To identify deaths, the cohort is also linked to the state death files and the National Death Index. Through 2021, about 48,000 participants have been diagnosed with cancer. As of 2019, 51% of the cohort members had died, and we expect more than 60% to have died by 2025 due to the aging of the cohort. Participants receive annual newsletters by mail. Every 5 years since the baseline, we send follow-up questionnaires to capture intercurrent illness and additional information, and to update exposures. While most follow-up questionnaires are brief in 4 pages, the 10-year follow-up questionnaire was a full length to repeat the FFQ. The FFQ at the 10-year follow-up was very similar to the baseline FFQ, with only minor modifications. Therefore, we were able to examine dietary changes over 10 years. The 10-year FFQ was also validated in a calibration study with 350 participants, which was in a smaller scale compared to the first calibration study. They completed both baseline and 10-year FFQ, as well as 3 24-hour recalls in between. Average correlations between the FFQ and 24-hour recalls were 0.57 and 0.58, and the correlation between the two FFQ was 0.73, indicating good reproducibility. Before moving into diet and cancer studies, I want to highlight this Korean American study in the MAC. About 500 women, mostly from Hawaii, reported Korean ethnicity. We compared some characteristics and dietary intake between US-born and Korea-born groups. US-born women were generally older, more educated, more likely to have more children, and to be ever employed. US-born women tended to have a higher BMI, a higher overweight or obesity rate, 31%, more than 3 times higher than in Korea-born women. They also had higher proportions of former or current smokers. In terms of dietary intake, US-born women consumed more fat, while Korea-born women consumed more sodium, vitamin C, and beta-carotene. This graph shows the proportions of women who did not meet the recommended servings for each food group. US-born women were less likely to meet the recommended servings for vegetable and fruit. In both groups, more than 90% of women did not meet the recommendations for dairy group. The higher fat intake and lower vegetable and fruit intake among US-born women may partly explain their higher overweight obesity rate. In addition to collecting data through questionnaires, the MAC collected biospecimen samples from voluntary participants. Between 2001 and 2006, about 70,000 participants provided blood and urine samples. Pre-diagnostic samples were collected to conduct nested case control studies for the association between biomarkers and cancer risk. Cases were identified through linkage to the tumor registries, and controls were selected by matching to birth year, race, ethnicity, location, date and time of blood draw, and fasting hours. This is a typical model for nested case control studies of nutritional biomarker and cancer risk. According to the blood or urinary level of biomarkers, we divide cases and controls into 4 or 5 groups. Compared to the reference group, which is usually the lowest group, we estimate odds ratio of having cancer and 95% confidence intervals for the upper level groups using conditional logistic regression models. This study looked at plasma carotenoid, retinol, and tocopherol levels in 286 postmenopausal breast cancer cases and 533 matched controls. Compared to the lowest group of total plasma carotenoid, the highest group showed odds ratio of 0.80, but the confidence intervals included 1, indicating it was not statistically significant. Retinol levels were not associated with breast cancer either. This slide does not present the data, but none of the individual carotenoids or tocopherols in plasma were associated with breast cancer risk. Next study looked at plasma vitamin D levels and colorectal cancer risk. Odds ratio was below 1 for all upper levels, but only the middle group had a significantly lower risk of colorectal cancer. In the model with continuous vitamin D levels, risk was decreased by 32% with each doubling of the vitamin D level. In this study of urinary phytoestrogens and prostate cancer, the highest level of DEXane was associated with 45% lower risk of prostate cancer, but the association for genistein was not significant. Now we move to FFQ-based studies. This is a typical analytic model used in Diet Cancer Association studies in the MAC. Participants were usually divided into quintiles based on their intake. The lowest quintile is set as the reference group. We estimate hazard ratio and 95% confidence intervals for upper quintiles using Cox proportional hazard models with age as the time metric. Follow-up period starts on date of cohort entry and ends on cancer diagnosis date, death date, or last day of follow-up, whichever comes first. This is the first study to report the Diet and Cancer Association in the MAC. This study examined meat and fat intake and pancreatic cancer risk and found an increased risk, especially with prostate meat consumption. Compared to the lowest intake group, all higher intake groups had an increased risk of pancreatic cancer by 47% to 80%, with confidence intervals not crossing 1, indicating statistical significance. This study received substantial media coverage. One local newspaper's headline was "Hot Dogs Raise Risk of Cancer." Next study looked at calcium and vitamin D intake in relation to colorectal cancer. In this graph, the groups with higher calcium intake had a lower risk of colorectal cancer by up to 36% compared to the reference group, with a significant linear trend in both men and women. This study evaluated the association between coffee consumption and mortality. Compared to non-coffee drinkers, people who drank at least 1 cup per day had a 12 to 18% lower risk of all-cause mortality. The inverse association was found for both caffeinated and decaffeinated coffee. A news article captured this study with the headline, "New study shows coffee drink may help people live longer, even if it's decaf." We also examined coffee and cancer incidence across 16 individual cancer sites. Higher coffee consumption was associated with lower risk of liver cancer by up to 43%, ovarian cancer by 67%, thyroid cancer by 56%, and melanoma by 28%. For endometrial cancer, lower risk was only found among women with BMI of 30 or higher by 69%. No association was found for the other cancer sites. Alcohol and breast cancer is another important study. 63% of women in the cohort did not drink alcohol, and 21% consumed less than 5 grams per day. So the majority of women in the cohort were non or light drinkers, considering that one drink contains about 14 grams of alcohol, which is equivalent to 1 can of regular beer. Compared to non-drinkers, consuming 5 grams or more per day was associated with increased risk of breast cancer. Even moderate drinking in women, 5 to 10 grams per day, was linked to a 23% higher risk of breast cancer. Heavy drinking of 30 grams or more raised breast cancer risk by 53%. For colorectal cancer, moderate to heavy drinking increased risk by 16 to 28% in men. Unlike with breast cancer, alcohol consumption was not significantly associated with colorectal cancer among women. In the MAC, we calculated several dietary scores to capture overall diet quality or specific dietary patterns such as Mediterranean diet and DASH diet. I will highlight some studies using the Healthy Eating Index, the Plant-Based Diet Indices, and the MIND score. The Healthy Eating Index, HEI, measures how closely a person's diet aligns with the dietary guidelines for Americans. Each version of the HEI corresponds to the version of the guidelines, with a maximum score of 100. HEI 2015 and 2020 are the same score, including 13 components, as seen in the radar chart. In the MAC, the average HEI 2015 score was 68 at baseline and improved to 71 at the 10-year follow-up. This study examined 10-year changes in HEI scores and subsequent mortality among cancer survivors. Based on the standard deviation, participants were divided into 5 groups: greatest decline, whose HEI score decreased by 1 SD or more, moderate decline, stable, moderate increase, and greatest increase. Compared to the stable group, the greatest decline group had a 25% higher risk of all-cause mortality, while the greatest increase group had a 13% lower risk of mortality. For cancer mortality, the association was less apparent. The similar patterns were found for participants without cancer. The plant-based diet indices include 3 scores: overall, healthful, and unhealthful plant-based diet index. These scores were calculated using 16 food groups in 3 categories: healthy plant food, less healthy plant food, and animal food. In the overall plant-based diet index, all plant foods were positively scored, meaning higher consumption resulted in a higher score. For the healthful index, healthy plant foods were positively scored and less healthy plant foods were reversely scored. The Apogee scoring scheme was applied to the unhealthful index. For all 3 indices, animal foods were reversely scored. In this study, the overall and healthful plant-based diet scores were associated with decreased risk of colorectal cancer among men. There was a suggestion for increased risk with higher unhealthful score, however, it was not statistically significant. For women, the confidence interval lines included the reference line for all indices, indicating that the association between plant-based dietary patterns and colorectal cancer was not statistically significant. We also examined plant-based dietary patterns and hepatocellular carcinoma, which is the main subtype of liver cancer. Overall and healthful scores were associated with decreased risk, but no significant association was found for unhealthful index. Another score available in the MAC is the MIND diet score. MIND diet was developed from Mediterranean and DASH diets to capture dietary components related to brain health. The MIND score comprises 15 components, 10 brain healthy food and 5 brain unhealthy food. Since the MEC FFQ did not ask about berries as a separate item, we modified the score by removing the berry component, resulting in 14 maximum points instead of 15. In this study, we looked at dementia risk because the MIND diet was designed for brain health. Higher MIND score was associated with a lower risk of dementia by up to 9%, similarly in men and women. 10-year changes in MIND score were also associated with a 25% decreased risk of subsequent dementia. This inverse association was found in both younger and older age groups, suggesting that dietary improvements at even older ages may be beneficial for dementia prevention. These observational studies that we just looked over are the basis to build the scientific evidence behind dietary guidelines. No single study can prove diet and cancer relationship, but together they inform evidence-based recommendations. For example, in 2018, the World Cancer Research Fund published the third expert report that provides evidence on how lifestyle factors, including diet and nutrition, can impact cancer risk and survivorship. In the first step, the expert panel carried out systematic reviews of all published relevant studies. Next, they evaluated the evidence and then developed recommendations. This is the cancer prevention recommendations by the World Cancer Research Fund, with dietary guidelines such as limit consumption of red and processed meat and limit alcohol consumption. These metrics illustrate the strength of the evidence for different dietary components and cancer sites. For instance, the red cell in the middle indicates that there is convincing evidence that alcohol drinks increase breast cancer risk. Our alcohol and breast cancer study in the MEC contributed to the systematic review and meta-analysis that supports the conclusion. On this final slide, I would like to mention collaboration and data sharing. MEC welcomes collaborations and applications from researchers to maximize the use of the MEC data for cancer and other chronic disease research. Researchers can access the MEC data by submitting an application through the MEC website under the data sharing section. There, you can also find a list of previous applications approved by the MEC Research Committee, as well as additional information. I would like to acknowledge the MEC participants, staff, investigators, and collaborators, as well as funding supports by the National Cancer Institute and the National Institute on Aging. If you are interested in collaboration and data access or have any questions about the MEC, please feel free to contact me at this email address. Thank you very much for your attention.